All right, welcome to RTF Sports Talk, Thursday edition. We are here today with Billy Hatton and Matthew Lyle. Billy, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. How y'all doing? Go Noles.
Go Noles. Matthew, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. It's a hot one, so
it's definitely always hot
trying to make it through. Trying to make it through.
Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the podcast here, Thursday edition. We're going to jump right into it. We're going to start with Le'Veon Bell with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers signed him to a $17 million franchise tag. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. Do you guys think the Steelers are getting him at a discount price and is going to run him into the ground? Billy, what do you think about that?
I definitely think that they getting him at a discount price. I mean, that's why they keep franchise tagging him, the Kirk Cousins effect. I mean, this guy had 406 total touches last year, 321 carries, 85 receptions. The year prior, he had 261 carries, and that was the year he was actually suspended. So who knows what that number probably could have been. As far as carries, he had 75 receptions the year prior. I think they're doing him the same way the Cowboys did DeMarco Murray, where they already knew that they probably wasn't trying to re-sign him long term. So they just ran him into the ground that year that DeMarco Murray had, over 2,000 yards. It seemed like every time they just give him the ball. And then what do? They let him walk because they refused to pay him after they done ran him into the ground. I think Le'Veon Bell is in that same situation with the Steelers. And what he has working for him, working against him, I will say, I believe that the Steelers is holding against him is the fact that he's already been in the drug protocol. He's already been caught for smoking. Mm-hmm. So who knows what kind of guy you're going to get if you re-sign him and say he messes up again. Now he's suspended for 6 games probably because he's already been suspended once already. So I think the Steelers is they're playing their cards the way that they know how to do it. Same MO with Mike Wallace. They let Mike Wallace walk when they didn't want to pay him the same way. So I think they're just trying to use him as much as they can, and then they're going to get rid of him next year.
Matthew, how do you feel about that? Do you think they're getting him at a discount price and going to run him into the ground?
Yeah, I agree with Billy a lot there. The only thing I say is different is I don't think it really matters. I don't think they really care about the drug protocol and his history there. I think it's just wear and tear on a running back. If this was a defensive end, he would have been paid, even with his history. If he was a quarterback, he'd be paid, even with that history. The fact is that he's a running back, and even though he plays a lot of other roles with the organization, such as he's a great blocker, he's a really good receiver. At the end of the day, he's still a running back, and they don't want to be the team that overpays and gets stuck with that. So what they're going to do is they're going to rent him as long as they can. They know that this is now his last season, so they're just going to run him into the ground, and it's either going to go one or two ways. Either he's going to set the world on fire, and like you said, they're going to run him in the ground. They might make a Super Bowl kind of run, but then next year, who's going to want him? Everybody's going to be questionable. He's not going to get that money, or he sits down. He doesn't do anything, and he saves the wear and tear. He saves the tread on his tires, but now he sat out a year, and people look at him as a quitter. The NFL is a cutthroat business. And Le'Veon Bell is going to lose this. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't think his next contract will average out to more than $8 or $9 million a year.
So, do you think the Steelers are going to do him like the Cowboys did DeMarco Murray and send him to the Titans, and he is going to flake out, or do you think he still has some left in the tank there still, Matt?
Well, it depends on what he learns from this season. If he learns that, hey, this isn't all about money, I need to make my legacy, then I think he can still save some face. If he picks up next year and goes to an organization like the Patriots or like the Eagles, who are willing to take a little less, but he's going to be able to make a name for himself, then that's a very good possibility. But if he goes chasing that almighty dollar, he may end up in Cleveland and may never rush for 1,000 yards again.
Hatton, do you feel the same?
I'm a little bit different on that. I do think that he's going to be able to chase. I think he's going to go chase the money because, I mean, that's the reason why he's unhappy now, because he want that deal because, like you said, the running back position is heavily devalued now. So, I mean, in this stage of his career, he know that he could probably make a team a contender just because of his skill set. I think he's only going to go for the money. So I don't think he'll go to a team like the Eagles or a team like the Patriots and take a pay cut if that's the case, he could just take a pay cut on the team that he's on now. So, reportedly he had already turned down the $70 million. If the Steelers definitely not going to franchise tag him next year because he'll be making $20+ million. That's not what they want. So I think he's going to go chase the money. That's what I believe.
So just some quick stats here. The average running back in the NFL only lasts 5 to 6 years with their rookie contracts 9 times out of 10. Do you think that needs a change in the NFL, that the running backs need to start making money a little bit sooner than the rest of the players? Like, how do you guys feel about that, Billy?
I think I think you should be paid off your production and not paid off your position. I do believe that football is the only true league that actually pays people based on position. Basketball, nobody says, "Hey man, you're a small forward. This is what you're going to get paid." But only in the NFL is where we set caps on. Oh, you're a running back. You're only going to make between, let's say, $7 and $12 million, and that's all you can make. So, I mean, the running backs is definitely heavily devalued, but they're getting used just like receivers. They're getting used just like running backs. So I could probably argue that their usage rate is probably better than anybody, outside the quarterback who's probably touching the ball every single play.
Matthew Lau, you feel the same way about that?
No, because in a perfect world, yeah, absolutely. But in a perfect world, teachers and firefighters and police would make as much as NFL players. That's not how business works. The NFL isn't like baseball and basketball. The NFL is looking for reasons to not pay you. The NFL, the running backs take more wear and tear than probably any other position. So if you want to make more money, go play a different position. If you want to make more money, go be a pitcher. But you're playing a position that takes a lot of beatings, that their need of you is only 3 to 5 years. It isn't that the lifespan of this type of person is only 3 to 5 years. It's their need of you. Once you hit that 6th, 7th, and 8th year, you no longer can do what they need you to do. So I get it. In a perfect world, it's not fair, but it's the nature of the beast. You chose to play a sport that doesn't really care about your face, opposed to what you can do. You chose to play a position that is a very physical position and only has a shelf life of, like we said, 3, 5, 7 seasons, and that's from the elite. If Le'Veon Bell, I heard an article, Jalen Hurd, the running back from Tennessee who tried to play the receiver, he said he wasn't doing just a position change; it was a career change. It was a life choice change. If Le'Veon Bell wanted to make more money, he should have went for a receiver.
Billy, do you feel the same way about that?
Yes and no. I mean, I understand his point that, I know that running backs aren't valued, so let me just go play another position. But sometimes it's not as easy as just saying that. And to your point about the teachers and firefighters, yeah, I get that, but that's not football. And they're capped based on their profession. He's playing a profession or playing professional football, and you got guys, receivers, that's making more than running backs. And I get it, the running back position is heavily devalued. But guys like Le'Veon Bell aren't just normal people. When you have a running back catching 85 passes a year, 75 passes the year before, that's not normal. It goes back to the Jimmy Graham situation when he was trying to get paid and they were trying to pay him as a tight end instead of a receiver, but they lined him out wide. So what do you suggest these guys do? Just tear their teams? Well, I'm not gonna go out there and catch passes. I'm only just gonna run the football. Now what job are you gonna have? So I mean, I get it. He playing a position that's devalued nowadays, but you should pay guys. Every other sport pay guys based off their production. Playing first base didn't stop Albert Pujols from getting his money, did he? No, it didn't, because they was paying him based on who he was and not the position that he played. So in football, we only pay guys based on that position, which I don't think that's fair to guys, that's unlucky and have to play these positions, So yeah, I mean, I get it, yes and no, but you should pay guys based off production and not position.
I mean, those are all very, very valid points. Matthew, you got something to say about that? Go ahead.
Well, and that's where we're at right now. It's a gamble. The Steelers are saying I bet you're going to fizzle out before the money runs out, and Le'Veon Bell is betting that it won't. And the Vikings made a similar deal with Adrian Peterson, which I know he's not the exact same back as Bell, but he was one of a kind. And they made that deal, and he didn't really do much last year. So Le'Veon's trying to be the exception to the rule, and Pittsburgh's, just like Peyton Manning got booted quick, Pittsburgh's willing to hedge their bets as well.
So let me just end this here real quick, but with this one question. Billy, do you think Le'Veon gives 100% this season?
I believe he do. He's trying to get that money.
Matthew, what do you think?
I'm not convinced, no. Because that position, if he gets a leg injury, he'll be playing for a minimum next year.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Let's switch to the NBA here. I'm sure we all know by now, LeBron James is now a LA Laker. How do you guys feel about this move? Matthew, we'll go ahead and start with you.
This tells me he no longer cares what the fans think. This isn't about championships. This isn't about his legacy. This isn't about chasing Jordan. This is about setting up for his life. These next 4 years under Magic Johnson's tutelage will be his college. He's learning how to own an NBA team. He's learning how to own an NFL team. He's going to learn how to be a movie mogul. He's going to learn all these other things, because this basically is him coming to peace with his 3 championships in. He may never get another one. He might get one, but he don't care. His main focus is, what can I do for the next 20 years?
All right, Billy, over to you. What do you think about this?
I totally disagree. I'm not for the Laker move just because I hate the Lakers. I think probably the worst fan base in America outside of the Cowboys. But for people who say that this move is not about championships, I ask you, how is it not? Where would you prefer him to go? Would you prefer him to go to Philly? He's playing with Ben Simmons, a guy who can't shoot. Joel Embiid, a guy who's never been able to stay healthy. So what guarantee did he have in Philly? He goes to Houston. Houston already lost Luka Modamute and Trevor Ariza because they already gave James Harden a max. They gave Chris Paul a max. They can't pay Clint Capella, which I also agree with, but they can't pay him because they don't have the salary. So more of your bench is going to be going in Houston. So, I mean, where else? You go to the Lakers, and the Lakers have the cap space to do everything. Maybe not this year. That's fine. But what were the Cleveland Cavaliers going to do, or the 76ers, or, any other team against Golden State this year? It's a lost cause for anybody in the NBA this year. Not to mention they have the cap room next year once Luol Deng contract goes off their books to sign 2 max guys. So, I mean, to me, the move, yes, was about, lifestyle after basketball, but to say that he's not worried about winning championships right now, I think that's ridiculous. If that's the case, he would have just stayed in Cleveland.
Matthew, it seems like you have something to say about that.
Well, no, I mean, him staying in Cleveland didn't benefit his lifestyle change. Yes, I understand anywhere he stayed, unless he went to Golden State, wasn't going to result in champions this year. But he could have opted back into Cleveland 1 year, made the hometown people just one more year happier, get one more run at an Eastern Conference Finals. But he was looking. This is him checking out. He's looking forward. Look at the guys he signed around. He just wants to. He don't want kids. He's bringing in Rondo. He's bringing in JaVale McGee, which is weird to say. He's bringing in Lance Stevenson. Basically, he just wants somewhere where he don't have to dedicate what he used to. He's just kind of riding out the rest of his career. Now, LeBron James is so great, he's still going to give you a Western Conference final. He's still going to give you 60 wins. But I don't think it's about catching Jordan anymore. It's about who can LeBron be as an entrepreneur. There was a report come out yesterday that he wants to own an NBA team and an NFL team. I think he has shifted focuses.
I don't think so, man. Of course, he's always talked about owning teams. He already owned a soccer club. So, I mean, that's nothing new for players to want to set themselves up after basketball. But, I mean, this Lakers team, he brought in I believe he brought in smart, heady guys. And regardless of what we may think about Lance Stevenson is a guy who is going to be tough. He's going to give it to you every single play. So I mean, this move to LA, I get it, lifestyle, but we act like this guy can't do anything, except for just worry about basketball. And to the Cleveland point, why stay in Cleveland just to make people happy? We already saying he's only going to LA as a lifestyle change and not a basketball decision. What would it have been to stay in Cleveland? That's not a basketball decision. That's not smart at all.
No, I agree, but however, I don't think winning a championship is number one priority anymore. I don't, because I don't think he'll win another one. He may not even make it to another final, and I think he's okay with that. I think, and I'm all for this. You're setting yourself up for failure to try to chase Kobe, to try to chase Jordan. Be LeBron. Be one of the greatest who ever played, who made it to 8 straight finals. Be happy with that.
Billy, you got a rebuttal on that? I mean,
it
looks like you have something to say.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I mean, to me personally, I still think championships is number one. Because he went to a team that has the best chance to get more stars, to get more help. Because now, with Golden State adding Boogie, I mean, Lord have mercy. So he went to a team, the Lakers, that have the cap room to put people around him, especially this 2019 free agency class. I mean, who knows who they'll be able to sign in this free agency class. So I think basketball, it probably wasn't number one, but I don't think to say like he just went out there just to build his brand, and that's really all, and be okay with 3 championships. That's LeBron accepting mediocrity, and I don't think that's what it was.
No, so LeBron's still working on himself. LeBron's still wanting to climb up those rankings. But look at every super team LeBron has put around himself. One guy goes away. Kevin Love went from a dominant guy in Minnesota to a three-point shooter. Chris Bosh took a back seat. Guys notice that. That's not something, you don't see that in Golden State. LeBron is still working on being the greatest player ever, being the greatest entrepreneur ever, being the greatest NBA person ever, and he can still accomplish that with no more rings. But I mean, he's going to be doing it.
Billy,
to your point, I mean, Chris Bosh and Kevin Love are both bigs who was mainly back to the basket guys. Those guys normally don't work with LeBron James. You brought up Golden State. Golden State have basically a team full of guards, free-flowing guards who don't pack in the paint. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. People know Dwayne Wade role didn't change. He was still D&D Wade. Kyrie's role didn't change. Kyrie was still 26, 27 points per game, the best of his career. So it's just the bigs that change, because you already know when playing with LeBron, he works around that mid-range area. So, yeah, guys like Kevin Love and Chris Bosh are going to have to learn to shoot the three, because those guys don't work in the system with LeBron James, theoretically.
I think guys are done playing with LeBron. Paul George had an opportunity to go there, and he chose not to.
Let's go ahead and move on off this topic real fast here. Let's jump into some super teams. So you don't think is super teams a good thing or a bad thing for the NBA? Let's go ahead and start with you, Matthew.
Super teams are a way of life. This is the thing I've been behind. Super teams are like electronics. They just keep building, and they're going to keep building. As the salary cap balloons, as AAU keeps everybody bonding, super teams are just going to keep on blowing. Let me show you. It started in the 90s. You needed a superstar and a star, Jordan and Pippen. How do you dethrone that? Give me 2 superstars, Shaq and Kobe. How do you dethrone that? Give me a superstar with 2 stars with what the Spurs had. How do you dethrone that? Give me 3 aging stars, Celtics. How do you dethrone that? Give me 3 stars in their prime, Heat. How do you dethrone that? Give me 3 stars that gel, the Warriors. How do you beat that? 4 stars, Warriors. How do you beat that? The Warriors ahead of the game. 4 stars and an injured star. This is just going to keep growing. In 3 or 4 years, there's going to be a team that have the best of every position. It's just going to keep on going until the NBA does something about it. So, I mean, yes, everyone looks now and they're like, oh, it's ruined the NBA. This has just been something that's been brewing over the last 20 to 30 years.
Billy, what are your thoughts on that?
I definitely agree with literally everything that he just said. I mean, super teams. I mean, it's people only credit that to the Miami Heat team, but they forget why that Miami team even came about. So because of another super team. So going back to when Karl Malone was chasing rings and Charles Barkley was out here chasing rings. Super teams has always been a part of the game. People just care not to look at it that way. And now that the players have more flexibility to go do whatever they want to do, just like you said, AAU, a lot of these guys come up playing with each other from when they're 8, 9 years old, all the way up until they get to college. And of course, they want to play with each other. Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, they say that they met at the 2003 draft, and look at him and Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, and that's all they ever talked about their whole career almost was playing with each other, being because everybody is friends nowadays. So super teams, I'm just not opposed to what the Warriors did. I mean, but I guess when you in there, you have to win right away. I think just some stuff they take it over the top, but super teams in general, I have no problem with it because these franchises and these owners, they do whatever they want to do anyways. They trade people away after they give them their word. So I mean, I'm with it. I'm on board for super teams.
So let me jump in. Like, you guys keep referring to the Warriors as a super team, but we fail to realize that they built this through the draft.
Well, I mean, it's still a super team.
Well,
mostly,
it's a super team,
mostly
they built it. They built it
mostly.
through the draft.
Either way, either whether you're building it or trading pieces away for salary cap, you're still building. So, like, I don't want to. They did a good job, and I'm a Warriors fan. I like what they've done. It's fun to watch, but that doesn't take them away from still being a super team. I mean, the Bulls built their quote unquote super team at the time when Jordan was making $33 million a year, Pippen was raking in another 15, and then no one else was making any money. I mean, they made that. The Spurs made their super team. That doesn't take anything away from it. I'm just saying this is the evolution. To beat that, you have to do this. Just like with technology. To beat the iPhone 4, you got to come out with the Galaxy 5. To beat the Galaxy 5, you got to come out with the iPhone 5. It's just a rotation of everyone trying to run up everybody. And it's going to keep doing it. Look at Duke. I'm not a Duke fan, but Duke have the number 1, 2, 3, and 3 player in the country on the same team. What if in 6 years, they're the number 1 power forward, number 1 small forward, the number 1 shooting guard, and they all decide to join teams in the NBA? It's just going to happen.
So, Matthew, let me ask you this question. Do you think the commissioner of the NBA is going to stop this and like how he kind of blocked the Chris Paul trade a couple years ago?
All right. So first off, let's get that out of the way. That wasn't anything to stop. Chris Paul played for the team that the NBA owned. So they get a right in saying where he goes. It wasn't blocking it to prevent a super trade. As the owner, it's like if you repo a house or repo a car and you're the bank, you're not going to let that go for less value just because it's technically not yours. You own it. You want to get the most value out of it you can. But that's that. The only thing that the league can do is make it be ridiculous. Is if, say, for example, you're Karl Anthony Towns, and they come up with a new rule, and you only got 2 options. You can leave and sign for the Lakers for, say, $200 million over 6 years, or you can stay in Minnesota and sign for $500 million. Like, it's going to have to be something ridiculous to get guys to pass that up. Like, you're going to have to pretty much say there's no salary cap for guys you've drafted, because as long as the difference is 30 or 40 million over a span of 6 years, guys are going to keep passing up on that to win and chase rings and get endorsements. So if the commissioner wants to do something about it, he needs to pretty much say, if you stay for the team that drafted you, your ability to make money will not be capped. And I don't know if that's something they'll ever agree to.
Billy, what are your thoughts on that?
I actually agree to both points, especially the Chris Paul thing. The Hornets at the time were owned by the league, so I mean that trade was totally different. I do agree. I don't think he's ever going to do anything about it. He's been on the record many times, saying that he's all for it. He loved the idea, that people are going and team up with their friends. So, and to Matthew's point, these guys really, I think we're conditioned now to only care about rings, because all we hear is Jordan 6 for 6. He got 6 rings. Kobe got 5 rings. You know, that's all these guys here. And you got Kawhi Leonard, who is the perfect example of that, who could have signed a $219 million supermax deal with the San Antonio Spurs. And he was willing to turn that down to probably go make 150 to go play with the Los Angeles Lakers or the Los Angeles Clippers. So, I mean, we're talking about a $60-70 million difference, you know, in money. And he was like, no, I'm good on that. You know, so yeah, they're going to have to make it ridiculous, you know, more, you know, hey, you're going to be able to get this and these incentives, more incentives by staying with the team that you're on. But I don't think I don't think it's going to change. Guys will want to go play with their friends or go play, you know, with the best places they think they're going to get rings. That's what it's all about now.
So Billy, let me ask you this. What is your definition of a super team then?
My definition of a super team is at least one superstar and one or two superstars and an all-star. So let's say a superstar and 2 all-stars. That's what I think is a super team. You know, that's my definition.
Matthew, same question to you.
It's just like I started the conversation. It's a revolving door. So, for example, now I know this. I'm reaching a little bit for this, but by his logic or by someone who shared that same view, the Pelicans would be close to a super team because they had Drew Holiday, they had Rondo, and now they got Davis. Now I know that some of those are aging, and I'm piecing things together for this argument. Well, yeah, Cousins was injured too. But so, yes, if you got a superstar and 2 all-stars 5 years ago, that might have been a super team. Now, you might not make it out of the conference finals. So I think it's always revolving. I think a super team is whoever is the highest, who is anything that's head and shoulders above whatever the rest of the league is doing. By, you know, if most of the people got 2 all-stars and you got 5, then you're the super team. I think it's a term. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but I think it's a term that is always going to be revolving because there may come 20 years when mine and your kids and grandkids are watching the NBA, they might be like, oh, this team has 5 all-stars and they missed the playoffs. So it's going to be tough.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on here. Breaking news this week that Leonard was traded to the Raptors from the San Antonio Spurs. Now, the question arises that this is the exact opposite place that Leonard wanted to go. He wanted to go to L.A., West Coast, live his dream over there. Billy, let me address this question to you here first. Do you think that the San Antonio Spurs are blackballing Leonard with that trade?
I don't think they blackballing Leonard at all. I mean, I think Greg Popovich did what was best for his franchise going forward, the team that he's coaching. Why should he have to cater to a guy that basically told him, listen, I don't want to be on your team. I don't want to be coached by you anymore. So now I'm supposed to lay down and bow down to his every demand and trade him to LA. Oh, by the way, they just got the best player in the world. That makes no absolute sense for the Spurs. Because didn't we criticize the Cleveland Cavaliers for trading Kyrie in conference to another rival? Why would he do that? So, I mean, I think, plus, I believe, you know, the Lakers wasn't going to budge. They wasn't going to give them 3 stars plus 2 first-round picks. That was just unrealistic. I think DeMar DeRozan is going to fit perfectly with what they have there. I like the guy Jacob Poeltl. So, I mean, on surface, yeah, we can look at it and say, you know, he was being petty. He was, you know, being this. I just think he was doing what was best for his franchise and not trading him to a team that he's going to see possibly in the playoffs and all during the year.
Matthew, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it was a cherry on top. If you can send him the exact opposite of what he wants after what he did. I mean, you got to remember, Pop is a Hall of Fame coach, and no one's really challenged him as the Spurs as Kawhi did this past year, and he set out for you the whole year on an injury that was questionable. I think that was a cherry on top, but I don't think that was the whole reason. I mean, this is the best deal that I think the Spurs were going to get, knowing he's a rent-a player. Boston wasn't going to give you the future. L.A. wasn't going to give up anything knowing they can re-sign him next year or they can sign him straight out next year and keep everything they want. So the Spurs get a really good player in DeRozan, and that 7-footer is just really up Pop's alley, and you get to move him out of the conference for at least this season. I don't think that was the main driver, but I think it was a cherry on top.
So Billy, let me like address this question to you first. Do you think the Raptors are just blowing stuff up and looking forward to the future? 2019, 2020.
I definitely do. I said it on my podcast yesterday that they're definitely in rebuild mode. I mean, they fired their coach after a 60-win season, first place team in the East. They fired him, coach of the year, by the
Coach of
way.
the year.
And then they just gave DeRozan that big contract a year ago, 2 years ago, and they already shipped him out. Kyle Lowry is going to be next. So I think this was a bargaining chip. They already know that Kawhi don't want to be there. And now they get to set themselves up for the Lakers possibly wanting to be able to trade with them and probably get younger stars in there to move out that old regime of stars. So I do think that they definitely in rebuild mode, and that's what this was about, just shipping out that old culture.
Matthew, what about you?
It's a magician. It's sleight of hand. It's you're over here looking at this, but in the background, something else is happening. This is rebuilding. This is tanking. This is trust the process, except all the fans are over here looking at this shiny toy that was Kawhi Leonard. Because I believe this year they're going to be better than they were last year, as weird as that sounds. But all it's for is to distract the fans for the inevitable rebuild that is coming. So the fans are going to be like, yes, we got Kawhi. Yes, we got Danny Green. Yes, we got Kyle Lowry. And then next thing you know, you have none of that, but you're already bought in.
So,
I definitely agree.
Well, just by the odds, by the Toronto Raptors winning the NBA championship, just by that trade, they went from 60-1 to 20-1. Do you guys legitimately think they can be a number one overall seed in the East again? Billy, let's go with you on that one.
I think it's possible for them to be a number one seed. I mean, they did get Kawhi Leonard, and if you're telling me Kawhi Leonard for DeMar DeRozan, I mean, basically, and you get Danny Green, another guy who can score more points for you. I mean, yeah, I could see them getting 60 wins in the East again, or 55 and being the top seed in the East, because we don't know how Kyrie is going to be coming off that injury, how Gordon Hayward going to be coming off that injury, or even how they gel together. We know Kyrie is a ball stopper, So, I mean, and was never really sold on the Philadelphia 76ers because I'm just not that high on Ben Simmons. I believe Joel Embiid, if he can stay healthy, is probably one of the best big men in the league. So I do think the Toronto Raptors, with the addition of Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green, they still have Kyle Lowry, they have Ibaka there, So I believe they can still be first in the East.
So
I can see it.
Let me ask you this question. Let's say the Raptors make it to the finals and they lose. Does Leonard stay there and sign a long-term deal, or do you think he has one foot out the door before he even shows up there?
I think he already got one foot out the door before he shows up. But if they do make it to the NBA Finals, I think that'll probably be a bargaining chip for him to maybe want to stay in the East. Maybe not with the Toronto Raptors, but it'll be that LeBron effect of, listen, man, I get to go to the finals. I get people talking about me. Now I got a buzz that I done went to 3-4 straight finals. Who knows how many finals they can go to. But I don't think he stays with Toronto because I already know he don't want to be there. But maybe that opened up a door for another Eastern Conference team to slide on in there and get his services.
Matthew, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it makes a difference. I mean, you got to remember this guy was on a Spurs team that is historically good. He won a ring. He made it to the championship additional time. I think and the Spurs are always growing, and that still wasn't enough to keep him in town. I think he wants to go out west, and I think he's going to do whatever it takes, whether it's the Clippers or the Lakers. And the Raptors, LeBron, you talk about the LeBron effect. LeBron just proved just because you get to the finals super easy doesn't mean the title's guaranteed. So I don't think he's going to let that convince him one way or the other.
Well, let me ask you this. It's been reported that Kyrie does not want to be second fiddle. He wants to be the man on the team. So right now he is the man on the Raptors. Do you think of him going to L.A. or Boston or the 76ers, do you really think that is a possibility for him to go to a place like that when he's not going to be the man? Matthew, what are your thoughts on that?
You got to remember, LA's got two teams. Why wouldn't he be the man in the Clippers?
But I don't know about that. Billy,
he never said I want to go to the Lakers. He said I want to go to LA.
Yeah, and he wants to be the man on the team.
Sounds like the Clippers to me.
Billy, what are your thoughts on that?
I get it. I think if he wanted to be the man on the team, he could have just stayed in San Antonio. So I really don't think that's what it's about. And Matthew, to your other point, I mean, the Spurs is this organization or whatever, but he felt like they did him wrong. And I've been in that situation. I've had 5 knee surgeries where people are telling me that I'm fine, and now 3 years later, I'm having 3 surgeries within a year. So yeah, it's a great organization, but when you feel like they've done you wrong, when you feel they've done wrong by you, then yeah, they get up out of there. So that's why I say it's the LeBron effect of outstanding the East. Now, him being the man on the team, I mean, he could stay in Toronto. He'll still be the man on the team. I just think he wanted to go back home. So maybe that is going to factor into, he is a LA kid. So I believe that's probably going to be a factor. But yeah, I mean, being the man on the team, I'm not buying that because, the team that he was on, he was the man, and now Toronto. So, I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Well, let me ask you that question. You guys keep saying that he was the man on the San Antonio Spurs. And do you think that Popovich is a bigger star than he was on that team? Like, do you think Popovich?
I believe he was. I believe he was because Popovich is the one who's been in the organization, the loans. He's the one who's brought the championships there. But there is no doubt when you looked at the leader on the team as far as on the court, on the talent that was on there, Kawhi Leonard was definitely the unquestioned leader. They was already saying it that Tim Duncan was the last one that was passing the torch down to Kawhi. So yeah, I believe he was the man. Popovich was the main attraction, but I think, he was the man on that team.
Matthew Lyle, same question to you.
Yeah, it was definitely Pop's team, but it also didn't hurt or didn't help Kawhi that he's not a big personality. And I think that's what really shook all this was the Spurs fans thought they had their dynasty set. You had David Robinson, who was a not a look-at-me guy. Then he handed the torch off to Tim Duncan, not a look-at-me guy, who was going to hand off the torch to Kawhi Leonard. And then when Leonard comes out and does all this, that's why they're all shocked. That's why this is so newsworthy. If this had been anyone else, if this had been James Harden, Chris Paul, Melo, yeah, it would get the air, but we wouldn't be as shocked because we grow to expect that from players, just players that are more vocal, more personalities. But Kawhi never showed any of that. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's doing all this.
All right, well, let's go ahead and end that right there. I mean, we could talk about this all day long about personalities and NBA and all that stuff. But let's go ahead and move over to the NFL. Tuesday we did the AFC West pick'em, and today we're going to do the NFC West pick'em. Let's go ahead and start with Billy. Like, who is your favorite team coming out of the NFC West this season?
I mean, I tried, man. I tried to go Seattle. Then I tried to think of the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm just not sold on him as well. I don't think we had a big enough sample size. So I'm going to go with the team that won it last year, the team that had the 11-5 record last year, who only got better this year. They added Brandon Cooks. They added Marcus Peters. They added Ndamukong Suh. They added Aqib Talib. I mean, how is that not a recipe to go back and repeat in the division that you basically kind of dominated last year, So they do have the fifth strongest schedule in the NFL this year, so that's going to play against them. But so do the Seahawks that has the fifth highest strength of schedule, and the Cardinals that got the 8th highest, and the 49ers they at 15. So I mean, all of that is right there, and you pick a team that got better. And I'm more sold on Jared Goff than any other quarterback in that division. He has Todd Gurley also, who I would take over any other running back also, probably besides him and David Johnson. Is probably, you slicing apples. But to me, I believe the Los Angeles Rams is going to repeat again as the NFC West Division champion.
Matthew, question to you now.
Just to kind of keep it short, I'm right there with him. I look at the 49ers. I don't ever trust when a team pays all their money into a quarterback. They paid Gropp. They're not going to be able to afford other positions. I think the 49ers are going to start hot and then fizzle out. I look at Seattle. I like Wilson in that offense, but that defense is in shambles now. I look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals got some good pieces on offense and defense. It's just not enough. And all the additions that he explained about the Rams, I think they're going to be by far the favorite. My only concern with the Rams, they got Goff still. He's coming back, getting better. Gurley, getting better. Signed all these weapons. But when you sign all these big names, you lose some of that depth. So right now they're the favorites to win easily on paper. But what happens if Sue gets hurt? What happens if these guys get hurt? The backups aren't going to be able to be as good because you had to make some of that room. The linebacking core, I really have a lot of questions with. So if something happens and that front four can't get that penetration or that secondary starts to fall apart, it could spell trouble, but I don't think anybody's going to steal it from the Rams.
Well, let me bring this question up to mind. Do you guys think that everybody else in that division is in rebuilding mode? I mean, the Seattle Seahawks are losing all of their old Legion of Boom guys. The 49ers were horrible last year, and then they signed that big quarterback deal. Do you guys think that the Rams are the only ones not rebuilding and they are pies to win? Billy, let's go ahead and go with you with that one.
The Cards, they drafted a quarterback in the first round, so that tells you how they feel about their current quarterback in Carson Palmer, who's never really had the ability to stay healthy. So I believe they in rebuild mode. The 49ers just got Jimmy G last year, and like Matthew said, was just completely awful last year. I mean, the Seahawks are getting rid of all the guys that me personally was the ones who won them their championships. I don't think Russell Wilson had a part in it, but when you had the best running game in the NFL for all the years that he was there, when you had the number one defense, the number one scoring defense, the number one defense in takeaways, I think, when you're getting rid of all of those guys, I think the Seahawks is not even going to be as close as being as good as they were. So I believe, the Rams are the only ones that's not in rebuild mode.
Matthew, you have anything to add to that?
No, I certainly agree. It just looks like everything's trying to make the pieces fit in the NFL. Now, the NFL tends to not rebuild the same way the NBA does, so it might not be as obvious, but it's definitely happening.
So you guys both have the Rams, correct?
Yep.
Rams.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and end today's show right there. Be sure to join us Sunday morning at 10 a.m. We do this all over again, guys. Thanks for joining us. Have a good day.
Can't wait.